Okay, it's working.
Thanks. This one. Okay, a remote, you say? A remote. Oh, this thing. Oh. I was like,
Does it have Zoom capabilities? Probably this or this, those ones. Oh, that's yeah. It's not Zoom. Hi, James, can you hear me? Hi, James, can you hear me?
hello.
But I'm sure it's okay. No, it's not. We should be able to hear how will we be doing the sound bundle?
Yes.
But I
James.
Yes, can you hear me?
okay, now we hear you. Yeah. I suppose I'm keep to I can do keep covers, I can explain me. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, the sound is a bit echoey,
It's
but I can
okay.
hear you.
I'm gonna go closer. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I can't do it. Yes, James, I need this mic. Let's take a walk off with you, so we'll go silent. Okay, I'm gonna sit on the chair. Do you want to? Can you hear me now while I'm sitting on the chair?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And clearly enough? Is it okay?
Yeah, no, it sounds clear.
Yeah. I don't know if the whole, like, if everyone will be able to hear Michael though, because it's very soft.
I think
Just keep quiet. Maybe we must see if we can switch off the.
I'm going to hang up.
Yeah, but I mean, we can't hear people talk. Hi. Hi, nice to meet you. And James, we're just doing some tests.
Just
how much projection you need.
It's quite fixed to, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm hoping you can all hear us. If you could just let us know in the chat that you can hear us, give us an indication.
Cool.
Ready to start.
Yeah, take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to students, industry, colleagues joining us, streaming in and here in the audience today. Today we're going to be discussing local digital fashion, and we've got a couple of great guest speakers to provide us with a bit more insight. This series is part of the 2030 DTI's master plan in localizing fashion production. And with that, this is the third installment of the Spring Summer Session series, where we previously looked at sustainability in the local fashion industry, and then local fashion production. Both of those have spoken to a few digital components that we're going to now unpack further today. So with me helping on teams and co-presenting is photography lecturer Bianca. So welcome, Bianca. My name is James. I am a third year garments and patterns lecturer. And with me on stage here, I have, hope I pronounced it correctly, but Eli de Golia. Is that correct?
You didn't butcher it. They're great.
And he's joining us from a really interesting company called Anybody's. We'll get to that a bit later. And I don't know if online we had Michael Bulkett. Is he joined? So we will have another speaker joining us shortly. And we'll discuss further with him. But to kick off, I'd like to introduce Eli and ask him to tell us a bit more about himself, what his company does, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Very excited to show you guys what's happening in the metaverse, for lack of a better word, but we refer to it as Web3. So I'm the co-founder of Anybody's. It's a digital fashion brand on a blockchain called Solana, which is a more environmental friendly blockchain and has a lot more potential to innovate. And also what's really nice about this blockchain is the people who invented it, the founders, are very hands-on. So if you really want to create something that has meaning and value in the real world, then they'll very much get involved in that space. What we really focus on is taking physical products and turning them into digital wearables in different games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox, and really trying to merge the digital and physical world and their products. And what's really interesting about that is you can change the way that people experience things. So our most recent drop was with Takey. He's an infamous producer. He currently makes like all the music for Drake, DJ Khaled, all these major artists. And what's interesting for us was he gets all these tickets for free all the time, right? So how do we make a garment that you can wear, which was a sweater that we made, but actually have real use cases? So it's not just a sweater, you can actually do things with it. And that's where NFT technology gets very interesting. And everyone keeps hearing this whole like buzzword, NFTs and all of that. The simplest way to think about NFTs is just proof of ownership. So how can I match that I'm wearing this hoodie? How do I know that like in the cloud, right, online? And that's really what NFTs does. It's proof of ownership. So I can prove that I own this shirt that I'm wearing and I'm in this hall. And what can I do with that information is very interesting. So if I go to a Drake concert wearing the Take Heat sweater, I can get free backstage pass by just walking in and proving that I'm wearing the hoodie and I'm representing his brand at that location. And that's just a very high level of what we've done. We've previously worked with Nike as well. That was a very interesting concept where we brought their shoes to life and we were able to take it across all the different games and metaverses. And yeah, we're currently the #1 fashion project across the metaverse right now.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Super
Um,
interesting.
So actually that brings me to a little just pit stop, just to remind the audience of what this session is about. I'm just going to read the topic statement for this session that we'll be unpacking. So with the onset of the fifth industrial revolution, growth of the metaverse and the implementation of 5G, customers and businesses are incorporating technology into the fashion experience and transactions more often. However, in South Africa, we are faced with high crime rates, load shedding, poverty, unemployment, lack of connectivity, and many more issues that developing countries face. So I want us to discuss a bit more about that, but I think just to put the audience in the conversation a bit more with some of the terms you've used, would you mind briefly explaining what are things like the metaverse, virtual reality, augmented reality, NFTs, blockchain?
Sure, I think that's a great start.
To unpack.
Yeah, I'll do my best to unpack it as best as possible. I think let's start with the whole term of metaverse. Right now, it's very much just this like cool word that gets thrown around very loosely. I think the easiest way to understand it is by playing a video game. Right now, everyone is just developing these open world game experiences. And that's really all the metaverse is. It's just a fancy way of calling an online game, right? The same way you can play, it's been around for years. The difference is that the items within that game are tradable on a mass scale. So if you buy a Fortnite skin, if your child buys a Fortnite skin, you can only sell it within a Fortnite ecosystem. The difference here is that you can sell that throughout the entire ecosystem across all games. So you buy one item and you can use it in multiple games. I think that's really where the metaverse is going. And then if we look at how NFTs come into the picture of metaverse, that's a very interesting concept. So if we unpack it to the basics, it just stands for non-fungible token, which means it's a one-of-one, cannot be replicated, reproduced. So it's the same as having this ring. This will be the only ring to ever be created, right? And how you apply that proof of ownership is very interesting. So a very useful concept that I like to ask people is, why can't you go to, when you're traveling, right, overseas, you have to take your passport. Why can't that passport be on your phone, the same way that you have your credit cards on? You just tap. Why can't you do that, right? The simple reason is, you can't prove on your phone that this is in fact a real copy of that passport or license or anything. So how does that happen? You need to have some sort of verification. That's what NFTs is. It's just to prove that this is in fact the authentic one-of-one document. Think of it the same as when you have a title deed of a home. That'll all be digitized, but the only way to digitize it is NFT technology. So making it non-fungible. It can't be changed, it can't be reproduced. So I think that's the easiest way to really think about it. And then it's just a matter of how you apply things. So we apply to fashion. Other people apply to property. I mean, there's been NFT projects where you can buy a part of an island in like the Bahamas or something ridiculous and like build your own little like villa. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So I think that's a really easy way to understand NFT technology. And another nice way, especially in the fashion context, is let's look at Louis Vuitton and all these high-end brands. Those are, high-end brands are the easiest to use NFT technology, because there you really want to prove that, hey, this is a genuine Louis Vuitton bag. How do you prove that? If I can just tap my phone and that NFC chip, which is, don't get it confused now, near field communication. So the same way you can tap your phone to pay for things, most of these products are going to start having chips in them, the same way that we use it, right? So every product we create has a chip in it that is hard-coded, meaning it cannot be changed, to a specific item. So it's the same way of getting like a certificate of authentication. We just do it with the chip. And Louis Vuitton are very bullish on this. They've been doing it a lot. Alex McQueen are doing it in their hoodies now as well. So there's a lot of cool ways that these products are using it, but high-end are already there. Like they're pushing it to the limit, even with luxury timepieces. Breitling have just started. So that's NFTs. I think I touched on it all. What was the other question? Sorry.
Virtual reality versus augmented reality, how do they fit into the metaverse?
Sure. I think that's the most important question, actually. how people experience a world is very important, because what we see the world as today is not what it's going to be in 10 years. It's not what my kids are going to experience or their kids and their kids, right? And there's a very big difference between virtual and augmented. And the easiest way to think about this is when you go on TikTok or Instagram and you put a filter on your face, that's augmented reality. Filters is the most basic version of augmented reality. Virtual reality is clunky. You need these goggles, you need to have all this hardware and plugged into a wall. And the next phase of real innovation with digital fashion is going to become something incredible is augmented reality. So I do suggest that if anyone is looking into it, very much focus on the augmented reality side. You guys can go check out all the augmented stuff that we've done. So every product we make, when you're wearing a hoodie of ours and you're about to take an Instagram photo, an entire filter comes to life. There's wings that come out of the hoodie. You can get so creative with it. You can, it's truly limitless. But the point is that everyone has a phone. Not everyone's walking around with big glasses, right? And that's where the real innovation is going to happen, is everything will eventually be what we call mixed reality, which is very interesting, where it'll take the current area that you're in and just augment stuff over it. So you'll still be able to touch this table, but you'll be able to make the table pink or blue. That's really where the focus is. So it's just filters, and I mean, think of how people will be able to like interact with a painter. You're walking in an art museum, the painter can come to life. We look at this dress. It could, when you put your phone in it, she could actually walk out and do an entire thing for you. And that's actually something that we're showcasing in New York very soon. I'll definitely share with you guys when it happens. But like, it's an entirely new shopping experience where you'll be able to try on clothing before you buy it in the store. You don't even have to try it on anymore. Just stand there, use your phone, stand in the mirror, put it on. And that's really, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's insane. Like saying it out loud, it's just, it's nuts. But the scary thing is that it's like, it's not even far-fetched, it's already happened. And like, it's either you're at the forefront of it and like get with it, or you just get left behind with this like old conformed way of thinking. And yeah, so augmented reality is filters, virtuals, physical.
Okay. So you mentioned about actually a lot of sort of big international high-end brands. So that sort of brings me to my first question, maybe that we can unpack, is what value do you perceive there to be in South Africa for the metaverse, for the average South African? How are they going to be engaging with the metaverse? Are we going to be slow adopters for this phenomenon that we're witnessing now?
Sure. I think that's a great question. And I think the answer will surprise a lot of people. Crypto is mass adopted by countries with bad economies and bad currencies, right? Because it's an alternative source of money, pretty much, right? And what we're doing is we're just creatively creating on top of this currency. So Nigeria is one of the most, like the biggest adopter of Web3, funny enough. Like they are the most active Web3 metaverse users. And in South Africa, you'd be pleasantly surprised by how many participants there are, because we're not sitting in a position of luxury that I would say if you travel to America or anything like that. We have to really get a lot more creative, and we don't have as many resources. And it tends to happen even in like startup worlds, where like that's why a small company can compete with the large corporates. It takes 5 months for them to make a decision. You can move quickly and make easy decisions. So there are a lot of South Africans. Funny enough, a 20-year-old has launched like one of the most successful NFT projects, studied at Wits and just like moved overseas. But there's a good amount of us. And I think that South Africa will definitely be mass adopters of it, purely because of the current economic climate. I mean, the lack of power and infrastructure, and that's a, we'll get to it. But I think as a means of monetizing, you don't have to be, this is the most amazing thing about the Web3 is there's no borders, right? You can be a nobody, create something incredible on your computer and sell it for an incredible amount of money. And something that's very interesting, it's a very interesting point to focus on, is NFTs are very interesting for fashion because of a royalty system. And this is where the innovation happens. Every time someone buys and sells my digital wearable, my t-shirt, I make 5% of that transaction, right? Ongoing till the end of time. So long as there's enough people still interested in buying that item, you continue to make money, right? So here's a great example of sustainability, right? And how NFTs can come in and completely revolutionize fashion. Last week, we launched the Take Heat, and it was 1,000 hoodies that we launched, right? At $60. It comes with a chip, and you can do all these cool things. You can get the free tickets. But that wasn't the interesting part. Like, that's just the product. What was interesting is that it has it's an entirely different value system. So for $60, we sold 1,000 hoodies, but in 2 weeks, we did $500,000 in sales. So we made 5% on $500,000 of them just buying and selling a digital version, not even the real thing. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have the real thing. This is just people saying, wow, I really think that this product would be useful because I can get free tickets to an event. But let's look at it from like fast fashion, right? I don't have to make 10,000 if I can make the exact same money making 1,000. That's the point, right? And then it's a much more controlled, refined process, and it's an ongoing revenue. It's not like you sell it once and that's where the money is. You sell it once, every time they sell it, you're making money along that entire value system. That's the craziest part of NFTs.
Sure.
Yeah.
So would you be able to, I also just want to tell the audience, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat. Bianca will read them out for us so we can answer your questions. So I've got a lot of questions. But for example, if like a fast fashion retailer like Mr. Price or, I don't know, H&M wanted to launch a limited edition line, and you bought that NFT, are you buying an NFT? Are you buying a digital asset product?
That's it. So yeah, so effectively the initial sale, the primary, that first sale would be like online. So let's just think of like a normal experience, shopping experience. I go into, let's just say Mr. Price, I think it's the easiest, right? We go into Mr. Price, I buy this t-shirt or this dress or something. And as I check out, I'm gonna buy it, right? While I'm waiting for it to get delivered, it's pretty much you're trading a digital receipt, right? So our workflow is that when you buy the actual item, you can buy and sell it as much as you want. And when you redeem it, which is pretty much like the checkout process, right? You put in the delivery details and all of that, then we pretty much destroy the receipt. So now you've claimed that one-to-one, right? So now you're getting the physical item, that digital item will no longer exist, if that makes sense, right? So that's our workflow. Other brands have taken it to a different approach where you can always have the digital and the physical, and they work in tandem with one another, right? So that way, and each one has different perks, you know. So the physical, I can get a free coffee at Starbucks. So if you go onto our Twitter, I don't know if you can share screen, but there's a great example that we did in Rosebank where it's pinned on our Twitter profile, where the hoodie, you walk in, you tap your phone to claim the free coffee, and then you just tap to pay, and there you are, and you get a free coffee. Because there was a brand deal that one of the celebrities did that just gives you those free coffees, you know? So, but that required the digital and the physical to be connected, right? So I think from, like, if you just circle back to Mr. Price, once that person buys it, they're first buying the NFT. Then they get to choose whether they want the physical delivered to them, or whether they want to just trade it openly. Like you can, especially if it's limited. And there's obviously a lot more demand, but globally there will be people who want it, right? So they'll either sell it on an open market, or you can choose to claim it, get the physical item, and then have the digital one, which actually, this is something very interesting that we've been exploring, is you keep the digital, and that gives you access to the games to actually wear it in games. So now this becomes like a marketing opportunity for brands where they can like have kids running around with their avatars having like a Nike shirt, you know, but it's the actual one that you really bought on that Fortnite character or on that whatever game, you know. We're very focused on like Roblox is actually a great game to look at. They're very entwined with Web3. But yeah, so there's tons of ways to skin the cat, but the first transaction is the NFT. That's the first thing you are buying. Then it's just how creative you will be.
So if we were bringing in augmented reality and you owned, if I'm correct, an NFT from, you know, an H&M or Mr. Price, and you wanted to take a selfie of yourself wearing that garment, is that something that would be?
Yeah. Okay. Let me show you one way if you want to try it.
I don't know if that wasn't to be able to see, but we can do it.
You can go onto Snapchat, guys, and then just search anybody's, and there'll be a lens available for you. And on that lens, it pretty much unlocks a sneaker. So the Nike drop that we did unlocks an entirely new sneaker. You want to stand quick? So if you point it to your feet, I'll just show you how it looks on me. So I can tap my feet and it'll change the texture. This is the digital wearer, right?
And is this on Snapchat?
This is on Snapchat,
Oh,
right? You can put it on anyone, right? You can try it on yourself. So you tap your feet and it'll change textures.
if you're at home, guys, I recommend if you have a Snapchat account, go
Yeah,
and check
give it a
this
try.
out.
I added it to the chat.
That's
so-
awesome.
Awesome.
Okay.
So that's just one example of yeah, you can. And Instagram actually had the most interesting thing, which is the same way that you can see your reels, you can see your posts, you can see all of that. They have their own tab, right? If you go onto anybody's Instagram page, you'll see there's a way for you to experience it, but you'll see there's 3 stars there. Do you see that?
Mm.
That is an entirely augmented reality page.
Okay.
And what Facebook are trying to achieve is try before you buy, right? Because Instagram's all about this like shopping experience, right? You see all these influencers, but imagine you could tap it, put it on, and actually see, oh, that looks nice, right? That's already happening. So that's like all our product experiences are all Instagram related because everyone has Instagram. So you obviously want to gear it towards like where users are most. Same with TikTok. TikTok are very, very excited. They have a lot of features coming out with filters. Because filters have this virality. It's always like a trend of something. Filters of an eye. So now you can completely leverage that virality concept. And TikTok are actually very bullish on it, especially TikTok South Africa. We've worked with them quite closely to see like how can brands increase their ad spend by pushing like lenses, which is what like they call it lens, but like filters of like clothing, like parts of your branding. Yeah.
So in terms of, you've mentioned, I think, Roblox,
Yes.
Fortnite. Do you think that the typical fashion designer is now targeting a different consumer? Not just your typical fashionista, but are you targeting now gamers?
Well, it depends on the intention of the artist. I would say if the intention is to make money, then yes, I would say follow the money, right? But if the intention is to do something of meaning, then I would say no. I would say stay true to what you're trying to create. So just a bit of backstory from anybody's. The reason the name exists is in NFTs, you'll see a very common trend of art where it's the same like crypto bro smoking weed type art style, right? It's like classic, right? You couldn't get a more classic style. And we wanted to make something that was actually impactful. So the whole point of the name Anybody's is that we believe anyone and everyone can genuinely go out and create digital items and turn their life, it's life-changing stuff. And the art direction that we took was completely against everything that the industry was going with, right? We took different races, different genders, different religions, different everything, and we pretty much put it all together. So you would have a black man with lipstick, and it was a profile picture. And that's like a very strong, impactful piece of art, right? It's to say like, who cares what you look like in the metaverse? You can look like anything, right? Think about it. There's no gravity. You could have a shoe that's on fire. There's like no laws to this shit. So why stick to the crypto bro douchebaggery when you can do something real? And that actually, like, it was crappy in the beginning, but hindsight was the best thing we ever did, because brands that we work with, right, we have like a ton that are up and coming, large IPs that aren't just fashion related. These are like toy companies that we're working with, and like how kids can experience toys with NFT technology. Is that it's a very strong, brands want to get involved in this like new way of like acceptance and things like that. It's a very brand friendly product that we've created. So hindsight, it's worked out great because now we're the leading NFT project. But in the beginning, it was like everyone was like, no, like, I don't like this, at all. So I think as an aspiring artist, make what you really love. And there's so many creative, super smart people. And something really important is this is such an emerging industry. Like, it's so new that there's no rules to it. It's like people will be like, yeah, I'm a marketing expert. I'm like, bro, how are you a marketing expert? It's been around for like 7 months properly. You're not an expert. We're all just trying things and seeing what lands. And yeah, it's pure experimenting. Like, it's full experiment. And the most incredible thing is, like I said, there's no borders to this shit. There are investors who will back you. There are people that appreciate art. There's fashion companies that are active. It can be a new way of fashion companies procuring design concepts. And there's like, imagine every single time you've designed the item, they only pay you once. But as a fashion designer, think of it, NFTs, there's royalties. Every time they make that sale, you're making a cut, you're making a cut. Every time a kid uses it in Fortnite, they're making, there's like unlimited potential. And that's really the exciting part. So yeah, that's my advice. Just be passionate about what you create.
I like the fact that you mentioned that it is still such a new and emerging industry. And that actually leads me to the next question is, you know, who are the key players within South Africa? You know, is it the retailers, is it government, you know, the educational institutions? Who is going to come together to help grow this industry, this digital fashion industry, essentially? It's a bit of a loaded question.
Yeah. I have very little confidence in our government, and I'm sure most people share the same sentiment. I definitely am very bullish on what you guys are doing. I think it's incredible, and I think that's the right approach. The power is really in the education. And something as simple as learning Flow 3D, which is a very simple 3D tool on like turning your items into, there's even like apps that you can literally download. It's called Polycam if you have an iPhone. You can take this entire mannequin and just take your phone out and scan it, put it into 3D, and you're off to the races. Now that's a fully usable like filter. You can do anything with it. So like technology is getting so good that you like all you need is a phone, a laptop, and you're good. But I definitely think that institutions like yourselves will be the key to having South Africa fashion at the forefront of Web3 fashion. Definitely, without a doubt. I think that's the main focus. There's no other way, to be honest.
So in terms of that, I wanted to just circle back a bit and find out your history, how you got into digital clothing. Okay. What your knowledge is of more traditional processes of creating clothing and how those would compare to the skills needed for creating digital clothing.
I'm loving your questions, by the way. I think they're great. I hope this inspires some of the viewers and you guys. Is I have zero fashion background. I just like dressing nicely, I guess. At least I think I dress nicely, okay? But like I like nice clothes, but I had zero knowledge on like what French terry was or like French cotton and all that. Like I had zero knowledge on any of the actual intricacies and technical skills of creating fashion. What I did understand, right, was simply that there was a very interesting moment, and just a bit of background from my career point of view to answer the first part is I've always been very passionate about creating things, meaning companies. So I would say that the best way to define myself is a serial entrepreneur. I've built multiple startups. Some have failed dismally. Some have been great. Some have been medium. And really the journey into crypto, Web3 was more this fascination of understanding like, because South Africa is really tricky with technology, right? If you want to make an app, like 80% of our population just found out what Facebook was. Like it is, you know what I mean? And like everyone's like beyond it, it's like TikTok. So how can you create something to disrupt the world when like your entire, like 80% of the country is just stuck in like the old age, pretty much, you know? And that was like such a challenging thing. But Web3 is a completely different approach where it doesn't matter what you're creating. So long as there's genuine meaning and value, people from around the world will back you. We have like 40% of our customers are American. Like that's crazy for like our offices in Rosebank. Like we just like we're at this company in Rosebank, like servicing like a global audience. It's just insane to think about. So I come with that background where it's like I understand the fundamentals of the business, which by the way I didn't study either. I was a dropout, and I read. I was, but I was always very passionate about just trying things. Experimentation, I think, is the most beautiful thing. You know, that's how kids learn. That's how everyone learns. Just try a bunch of shit, learn a bunch of shit, and then try it again until you get it right. Something will, you know, the most important thing is like getting back up and doing it over. So the most obvious play to me was, I tried to explain to my mom what an NFT was, right? I was sitting there, I was like, it's this thing that you can use in the cloud. She's like, what's the cloud? I'm like, okay, this is a hopeless exercise. But then when I said to her, what if I could sell you a shoe that you could use on your phone elsewhere? And that was like that moment where she was like, holy shit, I get what you're doing. And that moment was like, okay, I understand where the focus should be. NFTs are so new and like metaverse. Like everyone's using all these cool words. No one really understands what the hell's going on. But if you can say, hey, look, you were just trying on those digital shoes and you can buy them and trade them, that makes a lot of sense. You can like, physically like and have context. It's something tangible. And that's really where the idea came from with anybody's going into that fashion art. And then it was a very interesting learning curve. I actually worked with a lot of South African fashion students who actually like completely told me, I was like, okay, so like, how do we make a hoodie? You know, like, what are like the rules to this shit? I don't know. And we actually, every single item we've made to date has actually been designed by a South African student, funny enough. And what we did was we did this little prize where my younger sister, I think she studied Atlas, funny enough. And I was like, hey, like, do you have friends that can design? And I was like, I'll give 10,000 rand to whoever designs like the best thing for Takey. Or we have this one called D-Gods, which is like this incredible project. And they were all just designed by students. And it was like, whoever's design we work with, like there's full credit. You can use it in your portfolio. So like, yeah, two students, I think from Joburg, I think one of your schools actually designed the 1,000 hoodies. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
We'll definitely want to collaborate. I think.
Yeah. So I think like that's super interesting, and that's really where my main focus at Anybody's is getting that community collaborative exercise behind it. Like anyone can. I think that products are so easy to replicate. It's like it's not that hard, but the creativity and talent is really the hard one. And students are really clever. You know, they're jam-packed with talent. So I think if we can harness that talent and be like this launch pad for students to jump into the metaverse with like established brands, because that's what we do. We're currently, like we have a backlog of, is it recorded, by the way?
We are recording.
Is it recorded? Okay. very large fashion companies and very large toy companies and very large watch companies. We've already, like, they're like you'll see in the next 3 weeks, we're making an announcement. We're launching another project, another major brand. But the whole idea for us is we've now gotten to a point where we're big enough to get these deals. And the exciting part is then leveraging it and say, okay, guys, let's get involved. Let's make some NFTs. Let's make some digital assets. And there's so much to do that, like, you would want to crowdsource it. You want people involved. And that's the key to Web3. And everyone should really focus on this part is Web3's main purpose is the same purpose of crypto, right? Crypto is a decentralized finance. It's financial freedom. Screw the bank, right? You can go do whatever you want. Your money, you choose type thing. Web3 is that exact thing where brands, when you walk into Woolworths, it's not like you feel something, you're like, oh, there's nothing real there. And that's what brands have been lacking, is the real relationship and connection to the consumer. So how does Web3 do that? Is it completely turns everything on its head. It says that it's a community-centric, community-focused product where the community wins, not the banks, not the venture capitalists. The little guy wins, not the big guy. And that's what's like the most incredible part. So something that like a lot of the time you'll see this thrown around loosely is like, where to? I'm wearing a Zara top. Is Zara paying me? I'm a walking billboard. What if they had to? What if instead of them spending marketing budget on Instagram ads, they had like spending marketing budget on people actually using their clothing, being out at like these incredible events like this, like I'm busy giving a talk and there's no monetization. That's the point of Web3, is to make that possible, to say, okay, Ellie is wearing that t-shirt at this event. This is what his reward should be. Now you've completely changed the game.
Sure. So, I mean, that leads on to another question. So you sort of started hinting at it, but how can we as South Africa claim space in the metaverse? And I think you introduced it nicely with concepts, like collaboration. I think we have an entrepreneurial spirit in this country, especially amongst the youth, that we don't necessarily see elsewhere. So there is a lot of opportunity, but how would we start, encouraging, I think, the up and coming generations to get involved?
That's a tricky one. I would say, are we talking specifically? We're saying specifically from a fashion standpoint, or collective fashion wise? I think that institutions like yourself are the key to that. And then I'll circle back to that. I really think that the educational part is like the most important. Your students have this huge edge on people like myself. You actually understand the product, the technical side of things. They have a resource and a strong foundation that you guys give them that like people like me don't. We just can't figure it out as we're going along. And now it's just a matter of jumping in. The only way to learn is to literally just get involved. And like a very great way to do that is on Twitter. Like there's 3 main channels of every piece of Web3. There's a tool called Discord, which is like, you guys familiar with it? So everything is on Discord. Remember, it's community centric. So what is the one platform that inspires and cultivates community? Discord. So learn how to use Discord. The next thing, get on Twitter. Twitter is the most important place to get exposure, especially if you're like an aspiring one-of-one artist. Learn which marketplace. I'm happy to share some of this information with you afterwards, like some links. Like there's marketplaces specifically designed for one-of-one designers that like just want to like sell this design. You know, there's an entire marketplace that will actually, they're almost like a launch pad where they give you that exposure. It's just a matter of creating something of meaning, right? But yeah, I think definitely learning how to turn your designs into 3D assets that are usable, that's super important. And it's actually really easy. Clothes 3D is a great starting point. It's super user-friendly. It's always scary to learn new shit, but it's really important. I would say Clothes 3D is the first and easiest, lowest hanging fruit. From there, you can branch out into the scarier things. But that's a great starting point. And there's tons of projects like myself that'll be like, okay, we need to, or even Mr. Price. Let's say Mr. Price want to come into Web3 as an example. This is just a deal structure that we work with. They'll have a whole new collection designed and like ready to launch into the metaverse, like their spring collection. The thing is that you have to now convert all of that into usable 3D stuff that you can use in games. So learning Clothes 3D, you can already get exposure to these brands. You can already get exposure to the metaverse super easy. It's like one of the most in-demand things. And just another like simple, just to give you guys an idea of the money involved in this space, it's ludicrous. To be a moderator, which is just someone who sits on Discord, just says, hey, don't be rude, don't do that. That's 12,000 Rand minimum, right? There's an 18-year-old who's one of our community managers, right? And I'm just giving you in rands, this is all in dollars. But if you convert it, he earns 50,000 Rand just to hang out in a Discord and cultivate community. Just speak to the people involved. Be like, hey, like, what should we do? Inspire creation, get people involved. 50,000 Rand, that's an absurd amount of money. You know what I mean? For even like a 20-year-old, that's like for a 40-year-old, that's a lot of money, right? And that's just to show that there's so much excitement and money in the space right now. It won't be, it will, but it'll get more structured and more rigorous to like get exposure to that. Now everyone's in this experimental phase. So it's a great time to just jump in. And after about 3 weeks of really doing proper deep dive yourself, you'll know everything there needs to know. There's no specialists, there's no experts. There's just a bunch of people trying things. That's it, experimentation.
I mean, it sounds very exciting. I actually wanted to go back to what you were talking about earlier with the NFTs and essentially not being able to copy designs. I think that's always one of a fashion designer's biggest fears is that their garment is going to be copied.
Yeah.
How are NFT or how are designs not copied?
That's a great question. So I think NFTs, there's a lot of talk about like reimagining how copyright law works and all of these sort of outdated concepts, because like what applies in like Web3 can't apply in Web2. It's just such a, it's everything's backwards, right? So the interesting thing with blockchain and Web3 is everything's public, every record, so every transaction, everything you do is fully transparent. There's no like, you can't bullshit the system, right? So if Nadia made this dress, it's there in the public. No one can dispute it. So it's not like you have to go backwards and forwards with lawyers. The basis of it is what we call a smart contract, right? And what a smart contract is it pretty much removes a lawyer entirely. It says, okay, Nadia has created this dress, this date. It's got a full, like it's got full metadata, is what we refer to it as. That'll have like full proof that she's created this. Whether they've like copied it and adjusted a different conversation. But there is, in terms of like timestamp and stuff, you can always go back and then there's a different legal recourse to that. I think having them as NFTs is a much safer bet than anything else, I would say, because that's an undisputed thing. And that's what I would say. So from a design point of view, yeah, definitely NFT in your garments is very cool.
That authenticity is always built into the process from the metadata.
Correct.
Okay.
The primary goal of crypto or like blockchain is what like people usually say is to create a transparent ecosystem, transparent everything. So a great use case of this is charity. If I give you 100 Rand as the organization, I have no line of sight. Where did you put the 100 Rand? Who did it help? With blockchain, you can't. It's like you either took it for yourself or you actually did something with it. You know, that's the so again, it's like full transparency. There's no gibbering the system, and it is actually a great way to protect your designs, your creations, and the whole basis of the royalties are built into that. It's built into a smart contract, so it's a non-optional thing. It's not like people can opt out. It's like you want to use this. There's the royalty. Like pay up, and it's all autonomous. There's no like in between people. And to just make one important comment, I started with 0 rands to create this. So it's not like you need hundreds of thousands of rands. It's not even the case. You can create an NFT for $2. It's like really nothing scary. It just comes down to like, do you genuinely want to do something like excited? Like, are you really into it? Are you passionate about it? Do you want to do this? Then you'll do it. You know, so there isn't like a finite. That's why you'll see Nigeria and all these countries that have the shit economy, have the tough, you know, like lack of resources and electricity. They tend to be the most innovative because they're like, okay, I can make 20 Rand go pretty far compared to America, where it's not even a coffee. You know, like it's nothing. It's like as you breathe, $2 good. So that's really exciting because there's very little financial barrier to this stuff. Anyone can do it.
I think that's a nice point to highlight is that we often think of, as you said, America, Europe, even the East, as being more advanced or just being ahead of Africa. But if the barrier to entry is low and you have that kind of curiosity and that passion to just go for it, then the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
But what if, you know, I've set up this great little business and it's going well. I just want to understand a bit better. You're functioning in a digital world, selling digital products,
yeah,
earning in digital currency. But how do you end up
with real money?
With real money to pay the rent, to pay the bills.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question. And South Africa is actually pretty good with this compared to like other places. There are like some countries that are like completely against it and it's illegal to like have any crypto. South Africa, it's very simple. Every digital asset that you own, if you want to like make it into real money, there's exchanges. There's 3 right now. There's OVX, there's I can't remember the other 2. I use OVX, OVX.io. It's a great South African startup in Cape Town. And you just have 18% capital gains tax and then 2%, which is a premium. South Africa have a premium on crypto. So it's just, so you're in for 20%. So if you made $100, you're only getting $80 in your account. And it's actually instant. It's like within like 10 minutes, you've got the rands from Standard Bank is the main crypto bank. So all the money from crypto comes from Standard Bank.
Is it similar to Luna?
Luna's the other one.
Gather.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the 3. So all of those, it's just a matter of you send it to that account or exchange, and then you just click withdraw, and that's it. So yeah, it's really, really cool. So that's how we run our business, because we only own crypto, like our whole business, as you said, right? So like we have staff, we have over 30 people working for us globally. So how do you actually pay for that? It's like, yeah, you need to onsure it somehow.
So I mean,
Okay, I have a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
So do people pay you in the cryptocurrency, for example,
Yes.
Ethereum or
100%.
okay, so what's your preferred
So
currency?
So we use Solana, and the difference I would say, so you have 2 main currencies. Let's just call them all, just currencies is easier. You have Ethereum and you have Solana. They're very different price points and very different sort of buyers. So Ethereum is a very expensive blockchain. And so I'm going to try and explain it as simple as possible. But when you swipe your card to buy anything, there's like a little transaction fee that the bank takes, right? This is what we call a gas fee, but let's just call it a transaction fee. Every $100 I spend on Ethereum, it's like $5 to $10. It's like a lot of money that you're spending just on the transaction. Solana, it's like teeny little bits of money. So it's a lot quicker and it's a lot. Solana is built for the next generation of gaming, the next generation of fashion, the next generation of social media to be built on it. That's like its entire purpose of existing, actually. So the guy who made Reddit, he's building this amazing social media app on Solana. All these new up and coming, like Call of Duty, all the new games are going to be built on Solana. So Solana is just very simply to understand the currency to interact with these things. So the same way you want to like advertise on Facebook, you put your credit card and you'll spend dollars or rands. It's the exact same concept, you're just spending Solana. Think of it as any normal currency. So I definitely recommend Solana. It's also a much greener, from a technical standpoint, it was engineered to be more sustainable and less harmful, because there's a lot of like, you'll see these huge warehouses where they just like mining. And that's because of a concept called proof of work, where it takes like physical work to like for a computer to create. Like, and this is what we call proof of stake, which is it's just an innovation. So not relevant, but yeah, Solana is definitely a place to be. If you have more, so like Cartier and all these very premium brands are very focused on Ethereum, because Ethereum has real money. So there's liquidity, like people are selling a sneaker for $1 million, something ridiculous. So if that's sort of where you want to go and you want to like sell like really pricey things, Ethereum is a great point. But if you're like wanting to come and like create like interesting things, interesting user experiences, use cases, like that, like where it's more innovation and less like about like just selling a product for a lot of money, you know, then Solana. So like for us, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing on Ethereum. It's just not possible from a transactional point of view. Every time someone like wants to tap to get the free coffee, imagine they have to pay $5 to tap. That's the problem with Ethereum. It's more than the coffee. You see the problem. So with us, every time you tap, it's nothing. It's like almost free. What do you feel? So yeah, definitely recommend Solana. I think it's a great one. Yeah, and it's still very new, so they'll get they're very excited about newcomers, normal people coming in. That's what we call it, like normal people coming in, because that's the ultimate goal for like why I was so excited to come here was to get people excited, because the first problem is that we keep saying NFT technology. That's like saying I'm using a telecommunication device. Instead of like, you know what I mean? Like you're saying you're using the technology instead of just saying, hey, I can wear this shirt and get paid for it, or get a free coffee, or get something like that. You know, that's the things that we keep referring to the tech and not like, yeah, exactly. So it'll never gain it won't go like mainstream unless we get to a point where it's easy for everyone to understand. Oh, I just tap something and things happen. That's how simple it needs to become. And the more people actively coming in and experiencing it and experimenting, the quicker we'll get there. So, and I think with institutions like yourselves, this is like, that's why like I'm super excited about what you guys are doing. I think that this is the future. There's huge money involved in it from venture capital. There's the biggest venture capital firms in the world are investing in it. We had the likes of Bob Dylan, who's like a super old musician. He was like throwing a bunch of money at us. He's like, hey, can we invest? And he's like, oh, you're on your way out, man. You know, but like that's just to show you that like of something so small, like we achieved on a teeny scale, and there were tons of people to be like, wow, we love this. Keep going, keep going. And that's the main reason we're here, is to like get people excited about what we're doing and get involved in it. Anyone can do it, genuinely, anyone can do it. We have 13-year-olds in our community. It would blow your mind. Where he recently said to us, he was like, yeah, I went to school, I had to give a presentation, right? And he gave a presentation on the metaverse. And every kid in his school looked at him like he was like the weird kid. He's like, yeah, I was the weird kid. But then he said, but imagine you got the real shoe in Fortnite that you did in real life when you went shopping with your mom. And every kid was like, whoa. Okay. You know what I mean? They're like, that's so cool. Yeah, but that's because of products like what we're creating, where it can actually provide context. You know, I'll give you one more example with toys. right? How can you take NFTs and make toys into this whole new experience? Because why do you get a toy? A toy is there to either entertain your child or to educate them. It needs to have this educational element, right? So let's look at like a little girl comes home, she gets a Barbie, she sets up the little table, the normal plastic one with the green and yellow chairs, and she'll have a little tea party, right, with her dolls. But imagine she just has to have an iPad, and every real doll she buys, she scans a QR code, and she now gets the digital version. And when she sits down, she can actually put them to sit on the table with her, and they're interactive. And you can teach them to interact with kids and teach kids in a play date. That's like insane, right? And not just that, as a parent, I buy the toy, I now go to Durban, I leave the toy. But now, here you've got it, take away what you want, bro. That's the most incredible thing. And that's, again, augmented reality is the key, right? It's the key to achieving all these sort of user experiences with products, with even services. So, I hope I answered it well. I went on a bit of a rant, I'm sorry.
Reminds me of what Nintendo did with the like, they can have like a little plug in and then you can play with that cat. That's obviously more education.
Are there any questions?
Yes, we have a question from Sunri. So, hi everyone, I'm currently doing my research in digital transformation in developing countries and the challenges with this. The digital enablers that I'm looking at are, I'm not sure if it's IoT or LOT.
IoT, yeah.
IoT, machine learning, AR, VR, 3D printing, etc. All fourth industrial revolution technologies. We, South Africa, are still quite behind in the transformation process. If we look at Europe, China, etc. So a few questions. Are your clients larger or the larger companies that you work with? Are they mentioned, like for example, Nike or whatever? So do you mention them in the stuff that you create? It's probably only about the brand.
So we do carry our branding through it as well. So as a great example, when you get the digital version, it's not one-to-one with the shoe. So you saw the filter, right? That was our own idea of Nike in the future. What is Nike in a game? So we put our own little like twist and creativity on it. But yeah, so it is very focused on, because we're effectively launching their brands. So it does have to represent and mention their branding.
And then what do you believe are the biggest barriers for the adoption of AI, VR, and AR technologies in South Africa?
Sure, that's a great question. So artificial intelligence is a very interesting idea. And I think as fashion students, if you really want to try something incredible, it's like the most mind-blowing experience that we use, it's called DALL-E 2, right? Yeah, it is unbelievable what you can do. So a little trick that you can do is blur out your face, right? Upload yourself, and you can get DALL-E to generate entire wardrobes for you. So like our next step is like we want to build a collection that's completely AI created, because then it just feels more like fitting for like Web3. It's like, oh, computer like created this design. But like DALL-E 2 is super easy to get involved with. You just sign up to the program and you'll get accepted after like 5 days. I think like from an AI, there are no barriers to entry. You just need internet. Well, okay, I guess South Africans. You need the internet and the electricity. Yeah, you need all those things. But I think the playing field is pretty level across like from like lower to upper class. Like so long as you have a device that can connect to the internet, you can genuinely experiment with artificial intelligence. The next one was he asked about virtual reality, right?
So your AI, VR, AR.
Okay. So yeah, virtual reality, I think again, it's very playing field is super leveled. For now, virtual reality is very clunky. It's very like the experience isn't sound. The next innovation to happen, so we've been talking a lot with the Facebook team, is gloves actually. So there's these gloves with pressure sensors, right? Where if you pick something up in virtual reality, you'll actually feel resistance to the block. Then you've got the next sort of sensation added, and that's when it starts to feel really real. But I think for virtual reality to take the next step, just wait for Apple's release. So Apple, they're bringing out this incredible product that has mixed reality. If you remember what I was saying about making the desk pink, right? That's happening very, very soon. So that'll be next year. and I would definitely wait for that. It'll probably be very Apple priced, but again, it'll still be glass. It's going to be this like big, bulky, horrible thing. So I think we've got a long way to go. Augmented reality, anyone can learn. There's a 14-year-old that's been learning it. He's been helping us with some of the work. So it's very interesting. Like all the packaging we do has an experience, an unboxing experience, so that people will film it and then unpackage it, right? So when you open, like as an example, the D-Gods one, there's this person who comes out of the box and he flies and he shows off the this metaverse version. With Ted Keith, he does a full live performance for you as a DJ, as you're unpacking. There's like this whole experience on Instagram that you get.
So you're unpacking a physical box.
Yeah.
And you're obviously using your phone.
Exactly. You want to record it. Think of any vlogger or any Instagram or anything like it. It's just a very, we think clever at least. It's a clever way to get like that extra bit of like media attention. You know, people are going to film it anyways. Want to make it something like incredible. And that's like augmented reality is a skill that anyone can learn on YouTube. It'll take you a month and you're good to go. Yeah, so I think from South Africa's point of view, the lack of resource is actually your silver bullet, in my opinion, because you're not sitting comfy doing whatever in New York or whatever. You're here, you have to like now figure out, okay, it's like it's stage 5. I've got 4 hours to get shit done. You know, like you're gonna be like super focused in those 4 hours. You'll probably get 10 times more done than anyone. So like instead of looking at it as like this shitty, like we got this disadvantage, use that to your benefit and really like flip the script. Because that's what I think South Africans are really good at. It's like working with what we got. You know? Lights are still fucking on somehow, so you know. But truly, and if it was the case that we were so behind, how come we were able to do it? Look at it like that. How come there's tons of South Africans that I'll happily share a list with, where they're all involved in the NFT space? In like the craziest things, you can't believe it. And it's like it's some kid in his mom's basement in Cape Town. It's like it's ridiculous. But that's truly what it is. There's so little barrier to entry. The only barrier is yourself and an excuse.
I do actually. So I wanted to just go almost back to the beginning, but providing context. So if I give a very, very simplified explanation of the metaverse, it's almost overlaying like the digital realm and the physical realm. 100% how I see it. But I'm just thinking like with each generation, they perhaps have a different understanding. So a younger person, or maybe they're going to interact or experience the metaverse differently. I'm just thinking of my parents as well. How would I explain the metaverse and like the value of an NFT to them versus maybe someone middle-aged, maybe someone, you know, just coming out of high school. I don't know if you could give any more thought to that.
Sure.
Sort of the value of it at different, and how you might interact with it at sort of different age groups.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it actually comes back to a project that we're working on right now, which has been like the most fascinating idea. And again, it comes back to toys. I'm not going to say what the brand is legally, I can't yet. But in 3 weeks, you guys will see it's a very exciting brand. But the whole idea is that you're introducing children from ages 4 to 12 into this idea of digital toys, where they get to digitally experience them and like play around with them in augmented reality. I can actually show you a demo to blow your mind afterwards, where like you have these toys, like, and you can put them anywhere and they're interactable. They like, there's like a figurine with the backflip, a little superhero that you get.
You have to use a device to see it?
Just a phone. Your phone, your iPad, every kid nowadays genuinely has an iPad or something of the sort, like a tablet. So it's always geared towards that. And what we're doing is working very closely with Roblox, which is it's like 200 million kids play this game. And what we're doing is building up this entire toy experience where if you go into like the Lego land, you now get to like play with Legos in this world and then like take it. And this is like walking into a physical store, buying Lego and actually being able to like play with it in a normal game. Like Roblox is already there. We're there. We're at that point. So I think the next version will be when mixed reality comes, when it gets less clunky, when it gets to this sort of thing. or even like a little contact lens. It's like one of two things. It's either going to be a contact lens or a little chip in your brain, something like that. When it gets to that level, then yeah, then we're experiencing like a whole different level of the world where I think our kids will, I'm assuming we're the same age, we kind of we're the same age, and I think so. Yeah, but I think like our kids will technology gets faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. So how think of 10 years ago, right? It was sitting with a flip phone and I was playing Snakey, man. And now it's crazy where we're at. And it just gets faster, the rate of innovation. So I think in the next 10 years, we'll be very much in this space where mixed reality, like the kids in school will be learning in a whole new way, an interactive way. They don't even need books. It'll just be an entirely digital experience with, again, it comes back to augmented reality and how you can interact with it. But gloves play a very important part, right? Because you need to be able to have that touch sensation. When you have the touch sensation, what you can teach kids will blow your mind. And if they're already used to that, I mean, look at how our parents are with smartphones, right? They're like, but us, it's normal. We're the thumbs. We're the thumb guys. Yeah. So I have no idea what they'll be, but we'll be the thumb people and they'll be the something. Whatever that something is will be very interesting. But what's nice is I think especially getting into digital fashion and things like that, where we start playing with the digital and physical, you'll always be at the forefront of that. So I think this is a great, exciting space to be in this specific niche. Very cool.
And I think, as you said earlier, it is just such a new niche space. And there's so many possibilities. The mind actually boggles at the possibilities. I still think there might be some. I think going back to it was someone's question in terms of, I don't know if it's also quite a loaded question, but democratizing the access to these technologies. I think perhaps we as a country are still quite a way off compared to your European countries or America, the East. I think a lot of people have smartphones, but I know that you can easily access your whatever learning platforms on smartphones, but just that, I don't know, maybe the resources to the information might be limited. I don't know if you agree on that.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I think Nigeria is such an interesting case study because they are the biggest Web3 users. They've produced the most millionaires, the most successful people in terms of NFTs, the most incredible founders, the most incredible innovations. And that's Nigeria. It's not too far away. It's not Europe. It's not America. It's none of that. Most of the people that I deal with on a daily basis are Nigerian. And they're super smart people that literally, our one moderator is still living at home. He's 21, still paying for his school. And how does he do that? By getting in a Discord and moderating. That's just and he by no means is wealthy. He's trying to afford to pay for his education by being involved. So I think that so long as you have connectivity and YouTube and the will, I genuinely think that Web3 is at a point where it's designed in its essence. The whole essence of Web3 is that the little guy, that's the entire concept. Every bit of value. So just to make sure that everyone is clear on this, when we made 3,000 NFTs, right? Each one is its unique person in terms of design. We sold it for $30 each. They're now worth $1,500 each, right? And this is the amazing thing. So 3,000 people that believed in my vision early have now they've made life-changing money for some of them. That's life-changing money, right? But on top of that, the main objective and how you succeed in NFTs is to continuously drive value to those people, because you have to look at them as your shareholders, right? They're the people that believe in you. They're okay, you want to revolutionize fashion? Let's go, bro. Here's go for it. So you can raise money to achieve any idea, but you can literally start an NFT project, raise $1 million in a month. So long as you genuinely are able to sell your vision to people, people buy it from you. They'll be wait, here's $1 million, let's make it happen. And that's how NFTs are very interesting from a startup point of view. So if you're very entrepreneurial and want to create a business out of it, and you don't have the financial means, like I said, I started with zero. Let's be clear. I sold 3,000. We raised $200,000, and we built out of this team. And the key was to continuously drive that value back. So I'll give you an example. Instead of using the $200,000 for my pocket, what did we do? We partnered with Nike. We created shoes. And what did we do? We gave the shoes back to our biggest holders, our biggest believers. We said, here's a free shoe. Thank you for supporting us. The value of that shoe today, cheapest one, by the way, there's 65 sneakers. The cheapest one you can buy today, bear in mind, it was given for free, is $15,000, which is ludicrous, right? That experience that I just gave you is worth $15,000 because the only way you can actually fully get the full experience is by owning the physical item. So now I've given someone for free $15,000, right? Not because on mine, it's because they believed in the vision. You have 3,000 people. It's like a hive mind, right? They're like, okay, we're going to back it till the end of time. We'll be on social media. We'll be talking about your product. We'll be in your corner so long as you are honest and you are driven. You can genuinely do it, regardless of financial circumstances. It'll cost you maximum 1,000 Rand to create, because the more you make, the more expensive it gets. So if you make like 100,000 NFTs, obviously there's a cost of storage, like of actually storing the image. But anyone can do it. Genuinely, the starting point. I'll leave you with the story. There was a friend of mine who actually, he has the most fascinating story. He moved overseas and got involved with a very religious woman in Israel, right? And he was between jobs. He lost his job. He was relying on his mom. And he was he always had this incredible talent to paint. Like, you cannot believe it. Genuinely talented, but he was all about, like, his family came from his property. So they kind of like, it's kind of like how, like, your mom wants you to be a doctor. It's that sort of situation, right? But he loved painting and he was so talented. And when he was in this, now he's got a kid on the way. He's out of the job. His mom's like, yeah, different currency, can't help you, right? The day of his last interview, okay, he got rejected on his last interview. That same day, he went home, painted this incredible piece, put it on the NFT market, this one market, just tried his luck. He is now one of the most successful one-of-one artists in NFTs. You can go read his story. It's incredible. South African guy, South African guy who's just moved overseas, he had like the shittest cards dealt to him. And now it's like a life-changing event by him just like saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to try it out. Let me see. Yeah.
But I think the whole potential of the metaverse really allows anyone actually to explore their entrepreneurial dreams in a sense. And I think that it offers South Africans a great opportunity to really expand into the international fashion arena. And it's not limited by location, geography, but the resources or skills that we have here. And I think this is amazing. It's given me so much food for thought. I just wanted to find out if anyone had any questions or there are any questions from the audience.
Not anymore.
Okay. But I think that brings us to the end of our chat. It's really been fascinating. I'm already thinking, is there a possibility of I mean, we have, well, not in this country, but I'm just saying, the vintage market, vintage clothing is such a big, it's huge industry in and of itself. I mean, one day maybe we'll get there with NFTs, like vintage NFTs. For sure. The OGs.
You'll laugh, but it's already the case.
Yeah.
It's already the case. It actually is already the case in terms of like, there's very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff, but it's already there.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely stay in touch as the school session and do possible future collaborations. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. This is the actually,